everyone, I'm Reena Augustine and welcome to Community Impact. Today my guest is Mr. Duku Foray. He's the founder of Rich Dreams, a platform that provides a safe environment for people to showcase their success journey, build connections and work towards achieving their dreams. In addition to Rich Dreams, Duku has also founded H&H Wholesalers, a merchandise-based supplier to the hotel and hospitality industry. H&H is a supplier for clients such as the R&A Showgrounds, Marriott Hotel, Star Hotels, Brisbane Racing Club, and many more. Duku is an international speaker and author of 2 books, a 2-time TEDx speaker, as well as a UN delegate having represented Australia at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Duku is a committee member of the Presbyterian and Methodist Schools Association Policy Committee, which owns 4 outstanding Queensland schools: Brisbane Boys College, Clayfield College, Somerville House and Sunshine Coast Grammar School. He is the youngest ever appointed governance member for the PMSA. Duku is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Companies Directors course and has been awarded the most nominal of GAICD. He is one of the youngest graduates in the course's history at the age of 22 during his graduation. From being born in a Ugandan refugee camp with a speech impediment to representing Australia at the UN headquarters, Duku accumulated knowledge and experience are seldom found even in the most traveled of people. You can read more about Duku in his book, The Poor Kid with Rich Dreams. The Poor Kid with Rich Dreams. Wow, love it already. So you wrote that book at what age, Duku?
I wrote that book. I finished it last year, and so what happened was it was literally published at the beginning of the pandemic. And what happened was I believe, coming to Australia because I was born in a refugee camp, and coming to Australia from a refugee camp and being exposed to the opportunities in Australia and realizing that I was a poor kid, I was like, you know what? Even if I was a poor kid, Reena, my dreams is what's gonna make me rich and enrich me to also, enrich other people. And that's what inspired me to come up with the title, The Poor Kid with Rich Dreams. And I was surprised when I published it. A lot of people started buying it.
Wow. Yeah. So last year you published it.
Yes.
And I met you in an event, at the Lord Mayor's event. So you got a scholarship.
Yes.
What was the scholarship about?
It was for business mentoring for my company, H&H Wholesalers.
Mm-hmm. How did you start that?
Oh, well, what happened was I wanted to, because I do a lot of speaking. I talk a lot, Reena.
Yes. You like me.
100%. And so what happened is, since I talk a lot, I get invited to speak at different hotels and sometimes restaurants and different functions and event places and conferences. And whenever I get those opportunities, I like meeting the owners and the CEOs and the people who run the venues and talk with them and also see what their biggest problem is. And as a result, they always, they told me that one of their biggest issues is getting efficient supplies. Mm-hmm. And being someone who likes problem solving, I'm like, you know what? What if I supply you, these products? I was just brainstorming. I said, what if I supply you these products at a good quality and at the same time good pricing and it's on time? What will you give me in return? He's like, what do you want? I said, well, sometimes I want to stay in hotels for free and eat food for free too. He's like, if you save me a lot of money, we'll make that happen.
That is amazing. You're a negotiator, mate. That is really, really interesting to know. And you are only 24, but you've achieved so many things. You have actually spoken at TEDx Talks yes. and shared your story. Spontaneous.
Yes, the importance, yes, my TEDx talk is called the Importance of Spontaneous Decisions. And it was based about a spontaneous decision I made of me wanting to eat an American sandwich. And what happened was I watched a YouTube video about this sandwich, and then I made a spontaneous decision that in a year's time I would travel to the US and achieve my dream of eating this sandwich.
Eating the sandwich?
Yes.
Wow.
And what happened was when I ended up getting to the US, I found out that the company was closed.
Okay.
Yes, but I did so many things along the way to the point where at first it was just about me wanting to eat a sandwich, but because of that, I started following my dream of becoming an international speaker. You know, because I was also born with a speech impediment, and at the same time, English isn't my first language. And so, but still, I was like, you know what? I love talking. I love sharing my story. I want to be authentic. I want to be able to, you know, like express myself in a genuine extent. And as a result, I want to inspire people. And I said, you know what? If I make this spontaneous decision, I'm going to follow my dream of becoming a speaker and somehow make money through that, and fly to the US and achieve my dream of eating this sandwich. And when I made that, the first video I ever made with my little brother was in my bathroom, because we didn't have professional lighting, but we had the heater light in the bathroom.
Lighting. The heater lighting is a really good one, yes.
Yes, and if you can't tell, my complexion is a bit dark, and if the lighting isn't good, you may not be able to see me. I'm
like you, mate. It's all about the lighting.
And so that was the first video we made because of that spontaneous decision, and when I started following my dream, and then I just continued doing it, and before I knew it, I started getting invited to travel to different countries. And the first one was I got invited to represent Australia in Hong Kong. And that was amazing. I ended up getting lost in Mongkok, and it was exciting. And I ended up getting lost just in the different places. And I was inspired. But the problem, was that Hong Kong didn't have the sandwich. So I came back, the one that I wanted to eat, because the company is called Which. And Hong Kong didn't have the company. So I came back to Australia. I continued doing what I was doing. And then I got invited to go to Thailand. And over there, Thailand was amazing. I learned how to speak the language. You know, it's like how to negotiate in Thai. I was like, sorry,
oh, that is great.
It was exciting, but the problem, Vina, was there was no which sandwich in Thailand.
Thailand too.
I came back, I continued doing what I was doing, and then I ended up getting invited to represent Australia at the United Nations headquarters in New York. And when I got that, it was so amazing, you know. Everyone was proud of me, and I was proud of myself. But I was more proud about the fact that I was finally going to achieve my dream.
Yes.
Of eating that $9 sandwich.
A spontaneous decision, yes. The importance of spontaneous decision. And you know, Duku, there are so many people out there who are too scared to take decisions. So what would you tell them? How can they make a spontaneous decision? It's not easy, right?
It's not.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes what people normally do, and I believe it's also a mistake I made from the beginning, is we focus too much on the bigger picture. You know, and I have this saying where I say that, the thing that kills humans the most, it's not elephants, it's not the big things in the world, it's not lions, it's not like humans kill each other a lot. It's like when we turn on the news, social media, terrorism, violence, crime, so much crime. But what kills humans the most isn't the big things, Vina. It's mosquitoes. And mosquitoes have bitten every single one in the world. And sometimes, you know, like we are like, oh, it's just another mosquito. But if we look on the global scale, like mosquitoes kill almost twice as humans kill each other. It's crazy. And so
it's crazy to hear that.
I normally say that it's not the big things in the world that stop us from following our dreams, but it's the small things like the mosquito that we neglect.
It's a very good example.
Thank you very much.
Wow. So that's what you will tell that no, take the decision, take the leap, go out, take the risk.
Yes. One day at a time. You know, it's like more than anything, like one bathroom video at a time too.
One bathroom video at a time. I like that. So tell me, why are you so passionate about things? What is your motivating goal?
I believe I was born in one of the happiest countries in the world. You know, people ask me, Duku, you were born in a refugee camp. How was that like? You know, like some of the challenges you went through. And the thing is, when I was born over there, Vina, I was just a kid. You know, it's like I lived there for 10 years. That was my environment. And as a result, everything I knew about the world was within that environment. Even happiness it was a close environment for me. And so as a result, I didn't know like there were better things or like certain things. And what that meant was that I was able to develop a certain level of genuine happiness at a young age. And so when we came to Australia, and I realized that this country is full of opportunities, and I normally say that Australia is the country of dreams, you know, and we're the dreamers. and that's why I'm the First Nation people have been dreaming for thousands of years. And I realized that this country had, like all of these opportunities, and as a dreamer, I can go towards them and I can start chasing my dream. And like I mentioned before, even if I am a poor kid, I have these wonderful big dreams which just lights up my life and lights up my eyes to the point where, I can just go towards them, regardless of where I'm from, regardless of my speech impediment, regardless of me not being able to speak English from the beginning, that I can go after my dream. And that makes me excited.
That is really a great answer, and I think everybody should hear that. And just before the interview, I was speaking to you regarding the manifestations, and you believe in that.
Yes.
So, what you manifest, what you want, visualize it, and, it happens. You have to work for it, it happens. So this morning I was reading this quote which was saying that, in life there are decisions that we take, and make mistakes too, if the decisions can be a mistake, but if you don't take that decision, you're going nowhere. Right?
And not making that decision is also another decision.
Correct.
So it's like some people, they try to avoid, making decisions, but they don't know that it's a dichotomy.
That's right. Yes. That's right. So taking a decision for you wasn't easy, coming from a refugee background, because of family, and you have to abide by our parents and everyone. So how did you get out? Well,
that's a good question, and it also goes back to it goes being a migrant, from migrant backgrounds. When I told my parents that I'm going to become a speaker, they were like, so which university are you going to study that at? How much is that going to pay per hour?
Oops.
It's like, give me an example of anyone who is doing it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone who was my age, let alone, for my background or for my sphere of connection. I didn't have any connections, but I'm like, I want to do this. And I didn't know anyone. And so my parents are asking me all of these questions, like, how are you going to make all of this happen? And at the same time, the truth was, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. But I just took it one day at a time. And when we started making the videos, we made one video every fortnight. It's like, and every video was about 2 minutes. And we continued doing that every fortnight for more than 2 years.
And look where you are today.
Just.
It's the action that you take, the next step in the right direction.
Yes.
Even if you don't know the right direction, do it.
Yes. And what's interesting now is whenever I get invited to speak in different places, my parents are like my biggest fans. And one of the reasons is because whenever that's happening, I invite them, they come as my guest, and as a result, they're the VIPs, and they come dressed in their best, because I know you're someone who enjoys looking good and like wearing the best fashion. And my parents, they have a very good sense of fashion, especially with the African fashion. It's like they just make sure that
absolutely best.
They make sure that their clothes is matching. They come in as the best dressed, and then they get treated as the VIPs. Sometimes they get like food for free. It's like, and at the same time, afterwards, people come up to them and then they say, "You guys raised the goods."
Yeah, proud of they are more proud of where they are going. That's why the motivation that my son is going to be on the stage is something which motivates them to get ready and go out there, right? Yes. Wow, proud of your parents, and the parents are proud of you. Yeah, and do they still say, "Hey, bud, how much do you earn an hour? How much is speaking giving you an hour?"
I feel like just from them being treated as celebrity,
that's enough.
They were like, you know what, this is enough payment for us. But then at the same time, they were like, there's still rent to pay.
There's still rent to pay, there's still bills to pay. Yes. You have read this book, right?
Yes.
The Poor Kid and with Rich Dreams. Where can we buy that book?
Where can we buy it? Amazon is one place. Otherwise, you can just search it up online, and then I believe there's different places to buy it as well. And I believe you could also buy it on my website. So dukuinspires.com.
Dukuinspires.com? Yes. I love it already.
Thank you very much.
So where all do you go and speak? Who invites you, and where do you go and speak?
Who invites me? A lot of different people, a lot of schools, and at the same time a lot of different corporations and just different individuals who are doing events, and at the same time, sometimes multicultural events. And recently, I've been contacted by a university to be to do a graduation speech, and so it's like just different organizations. Yes, and
yeah, Duku, how hard it was for you to integrate in Australia?
very challenging.
Very challenging.
It was very challenging.
Can we have an example?
Yes, when I came to Australia, I was 10 years old, and I came from a place where everyone looked like me. I spoke the same language, ate the same food, to a country where people didn't look like me. They didn't eat the same food, and at the same time, they didn't speak the language. And we went to a school where there were like less than a handful of black people, and as a result, my little brother and I, it didn't matter where we were, we could be surrounded by more than like 300 to 400 students, and you can still tell us apart. And going to a school like that at a young age, you can imagine we ended up getting a lot of interest from different students. Some of them were genuinely curious to know these new black kids, but then at the same time being different. Other people will take your difference as an excuse to bully you.
Yes.
And as a result, I became a victim of bullying. And I started getting bullied, and I couldn't tell it to the teachers because I couldn't speak their language. And at the same time, I didn't want to tell it to my parents because they were going through the same struggle as I was going through.
Yes.
They were trying to fit into this new environment. And that ended up going on for quite a while. And what happened was one day I ended up saying that my little brother was being bullied. And what that did was it triggered in me the sense where, you know what, I don't want to be the bully anymore. No, I don't want to be, the kid who is being bullied anymore. Because we were the victims. But being born in Africa, I knew how to fight. It's that we have to fight to stay alive. It's not a
human nature.
Yes. And so I knew how to fight, but I was restraining myself because I didn't want to fight. But now I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be the kid who is getting bullied. And as a result, I ended up developing the characteristics of the bullies. And I started bullying other kids. And that ended up going on until I was in grade 10. And what happened was I ended up getting into a huge fight at the ending of the schooling year. And I got expelled from my school.
Expelled from the school?
Yes.
That must be devastating.
It was. And my parents were very devastated because they ended up leaving their home country with their children to come to this country full of opportunities.
Yeah.
And here I was, not only not taking the opportunities, but at the same time getting into troubles and fighting. And so you can imagine the last thing I wanted at that age was to see my parents sad.
Yeah.
But it was even worse at that moment because not only were they sad, but it was the reason behind it.
How did you overcome it?
How did I overcome it? I ended up afterwards I ended up getting accepted to a new school. So what happened was my best friend at that time, 2 days after I got expelled, he was getting a scholarship to go to a school in the city. And he and I, we did everything together. And as a result, when he was going to his interview, and the area where I lived in, it wasn't the best environment. So as a result, a young kid going to the city was exciting. There's skyscrapers, and my best friend getting a scholarship to go there. I ended up going to his interview with him so we can chill in the city afterwards. And when we went to his interview, he ended up getting called into the room. And then what happened was I ended up going inside with him. There was 3 of us, me, my other friend, and the one who was getting the scholarship. The 3 of us ended up going into the interview room together. And the teachers were a bit confused because there was only one person on their list.
Yes.
And now there was like 3 black kids standing in front of them. And they didn't know how to send the 2 of us out politely.
That's right.
And so they were like, are you guys getting a scholarship too? And me and my other friend, we didn't know what to say. But then our friend who was getting the scholarship, he's like, oh yeah, yes, they're as fast as me, we trained together. And then the school ended up giving the 3 of us a scholarship.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So that's how you ended up in another school. You graduated from the high school? Yeah, good.
And the principal of that new school didn't find out that I was expelled after I graduated.
They did find out? Oh.
After I graduated.
After you graduated? That's awesome. Two years, you escaped. But you got good grades in 12th?
I did, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, and at the same time, I ended up changing my behavior a bit.
Very nice, very nice. Duku. So Duku, Australia.
Yes.
we all are migrants over here. As you mentioned, that it was very hard for us to integrate, right?
Yes.
So, as I mentioned that, it's not easy to integrate, but there are steps that has to be followed.
Yes.
And you were mentioning about those steps. So if I can hear, that will be great.
Yes, most definitely. I would say when you first come here, obviously there will be a huge culture shock. There's always a big culture shock. And the step for us was after going through those culture shock and getting involved with the food and all of these things and getting comfortable with the interworking of things, I believe one of the best things a migrant individual can do is learn to tell their story. Because someone said when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are.
That's right.
Being a migrant in a country like this, it's like, for example, you studied, red carpet fashion, and you wanted to, showcase the fashion of these migrants, and that fashion tells the story of the people.
That's
right. Where they come from, and even the food is like the taste of the food is a story. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
as a result, I believe we need to learn how to tell our own story. And that's why, because I was born with a speech impediment, and English wasn't my first language. And not only did I, not only did I had to learn this language, but I had to overcome the impediment on top. But I said, I don't care. I need to learn how to articulate myself. I need to learn how to tell my own story. Because when I open my mouth, I tell the world who I am. And when we came here, I couldn't speak a single word of English. But now I can't seem to shut up.
Agree with that, and that is a very good thing, because your story will inspire so many people. You are here because when I heard you at that event and I spoke to you, you were full of passion and energy, and that was the reason I said, Duku, you have an amazing story, and writing a book is not easy. I was telling my girls who are with me in my team, he's written 2 books. I can't write one para.
The other one is the children's book version of the other one. So I'm like, you know what, one book is okay, but if I turn this into a children's book, and then have, some good-looking photos and some, like, little paragraphs underneath it, that's 2 books.
It really works, eh? It works. The pictures do work. So, Duku, what is the one core value everyone should stick to in order to make it in this globalized era?
Most definitely. And I have this saying, and I believe this is the saying which helped me from the beginning, I believe you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. And I wasn't great, I'm going back again. I had to learn this language. I had to overcome an impediment. And I had to start what I was doing in my bathroom. I wasn't great, but I had to get started to be great. And I believe I'm still on my road to greatness. There's still a long journey, but then every journey starts with one step. And I've taken a couple of them. And if you're going to be great in the future, I hope you start taking your first step today. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Love it, Duku. And all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.